Hello everyone, this is Tony from Two Copper Pieces. I'm the one without the beard, and in this video I'm going to be sort of experimenting with the undercoat or the base coat of miniatures before we paint them. These are some miniatures I painted that I feel I did a good job with overall, but they look a bit kind of patchy or not very smooth, and I want to try getting a smoother base coat initially, and to see if that makes a difference to the ultimate finish. I'm still trying to find a use for this holy white paint, so I'm hoping that because it's sort of light grey white, it can smooth some of the transitions from my zenithal highlight, which sometimes when you're rushing through your zenithal highlights, you end up with some quite harsh transitions. I do tend to base my minis all at the same time, or big bunches of them at once, to save a bit of time for some, just so they're just ready for me to paint later. But yeah, sometimes I might not take ultimate care with it. So here I am trying to smooth things out a little bit more of a dry brush with some white, which with some speed paint medium added to it, so we can try and avoid that sort of patchy, scaly effect that some of my minis have. Maybe you've had a similar problem. Maybe you don't think it's a problem. Maybe you think it's fine. Like I said, I think they look pretty good. I'm just going for trying to achieve a smoother effect and see if we can find a way of doing that without spending a really long time. So here I am just kind of applying that to try and get a better finish to the base coat of these minis. And you'll see that it's pretty pure, pretty white, pretty smooth, ready to start using some contrast paints. Starting with yellow for the hair. So you'll see here I've got the original mini next door. I've kept the originals next to each other so we can compare as we add various steps. I'm not going to be finishing any sets of minis today. I'm just going to be applying some contrast paint to the, in theory, smoother transitions, more smoothly transitioned zenithal highlight, and we'll see how it looks. I'm doing skin on this archer. The archer looked kind of patchy and strange. Here, doing skin, the hands of some of the other models as well. I'm going to stick to the one skin tone for this one, so we're going to stick to that Crusader skin tone for this version of the model, because I've already squirted some out on the last one, and that's pretty much why I don't like to waste paint. Yep, all of the little bits there. It looks okay so far. Here I've gone back to add some sand golem to the hilt of this sword and some of these other parts of the weapons. Use sand golem to represent gold quite often. Quite a good colour for that. You can always add a little bit of a highlight or low light here or there to push it forward a bit more. You can see the original sort of attempt at NMM on this one. I'm going to try and do it a bit better on some of these weapons. Here's NMM on that mini's sword as well. But this isn't really an NMM video, so it's not really about that. It's more about how it looks after the better transitions, and you may be surprised by the results at the end or my conclusion, because often with these YouTube videos, they're about giving tips that are going to make your painting better, and that is what it's about really ultimately. But sometimes what you're doing is fine, and it's not any worse. And this is what I found when with this sort of thing, when I'm trying to apply this base coat with much greater transitions. Maybe it's because my actual painting is a bit sloppy here, but you'll see that in my opinion there's not really a significant improvement or any improvement on the newer versions of the models. Just based on how the paint goes on, they look pretty similar to me. I can't see a discernible improvement, certainly. You just see I'm applying some paint to try and make the of the paint I've got, because once again, I hate wasting paint. If you enjoy these videos or you find something useful about them, feel free to hit that like button. If you think there's someone you know who might like to watch these videos, you could share it with them, that'd be great. Please subscribe to find more content. I try to upload something every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. These boots are made for walking. I think it always helps to have a little puddle or pool of water on your glass palette so you can return for a bit of moisture. I've been used to using wet palettes for a while, and I do like the wet palettes, but if you're using contrast paint, if it has a tendency of soaking through the paper, gets into the hydro sponge, I don't think that can be good for it. It doesn't seem to have caused any problems, but stained it. And I think it probably will affect the life of the sponge that I'm using, and I don't want to waste it. Also, where it seeps through, or if the wet palette is too wet, the contrast paints just don't hold their shape very well. They get too thin, stuff like that. So if you use the glass palette, they just hold their form, hold their shape, hold their consistency, and they tend to look a lot better. You can always add water to them if you want them to be thinner, so you don't need to use a wet palette. Alright, so I think ultimately, like I said, I don't think there's a significant difference. Here I'm just cleaning the glass palette, just add a bit of water and then wipe it off. I don't think there's a significant difference overall. And I think what you'll see is, for some of them, the skin looks a bit better than some of the earlier versions. I think that's definitely true. When it comes to the clothing or the armor or the weapons or the boots or anything like that, I don't think there's anything particularly better about this approach. It definitely helps with the skin. So I think it's just important to make sure you've got a smooth transition on your skin, so that when you paint with contrast paints, you're going to get the best effect. All right, thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. I've been 2 Copper Pieces. Bye-bye.